Hello, I'm Todd
Hello.
Terapasic. Oh yeah. I'm Todd from the Erie Art Museum, and we're back. Actually, I think it's been a long time since we last did this with another round of Meet the Artist. So today I'm sitting with virtually with one of the Juror Award winners from the 99th annual Nicole and Harry Martin Spring Show, and that would be the Ohio-based painter Sarah Curry. Hello, Sarah.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
I love your little friend in the background.
I know she needs a little attention.
She's adorable. All
Thank
right,
you.
well, let's get this rolling. Why don't you start by telling me a little bit about yourself? Give us the highlights of your artistic journey, and I suppose.
Okay. I have been in Cleveland for most of my life. I was born and raised in Cleveland. I went to art school at Kansas City Art Institute for 4 years with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in illustration. And upon graduation, I returned to Cleveland. I spent time in New York City. I lived in Brooklyn for a while and worked at various educational facilities and uh, magazines while I was there. And then I returned to Cleveland to pursue a job in art education. So I got my master's from Case Western in, oh goodness, 2001, I believe. And
Okay.
I've been teaching at high school ever since. And I'm currently represented by the Hedge Gallery in Cleveland, Ohio. And Hillary Gent represents about 15 artists in her stable, so to speak. So I show my work there often. And this work that is in the spring show was created initially for exhibit at her gallery at the Hedge, which was called Underestimated. And it is a series of paintings and drawings and prints on teenage girls, which has been a focus of my work for the past about 10 years or so.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So we're actually gonna head right in and start talking about the work that you have in the spring show. Now a couple things struck me about the series, and I guess your painting in general. Having seen your work before, I knew to expect figure painting that is second to none, frankly, in both
Oh,
realism and elegance. But what I didn't expect was to I don't know, I not have two-thirds of what would typically be considered part of the painting. So I was wondering, where did the idea to the blacking out, the idea to remove everything from your painting but the skin and the hair of your models, where did that come from?
so this was created during the pandemic, and the work that you've seen before that was in the spring show previous year is much more painterly, has a lot of energy and brushwork and
Right.
looser and overlapping appendages and multiple heads, expressions, and it was speaking to the complex nature of teenage girls and that one image is never enough and let alone a still image. So I was kind of embracing that idea of overlapping and interacting the paint work with lots of loose kind of abstraction of the background. So, and the unattached work of the blocked background, the negative space became just as I guess important and crucial, I would even say, because of course during the pandemic I was not able to interact with my kids in person, and it put both myself and my students into a very quiet space, and things became absorbed into kind of black hole, so to speak. So it felt as though they their essence was simply their skin and their hair, and that they were unattached to anything but themselves and what they have. So it's a much quieter series that came out of the pandemic. And then I started interacting with different materials to see how I could get the black as black as black. So it felt as though it was being absorbed. And I'm intentionally manipulating wash instead of oil paint. So, oil paint has a lot of viscosity to it. It has iridescence, it has shine. And for that series, it was important to be like pulling in the light opposed to reflecting and refracting the light.
Wow. That's really, really, really awesome. And I love how your current or your most recent series really is, it almost feels like a direct reaction to what you created before it, because the series that was exhibited in the 2020 98th annual spring show, it had a very intense, very complicated backgrounds. Some of them, it seemed like you painted the figure in motion, so you had multiple angles of the appendages, the background blurred, and this, it's almost, it's like, it's literally your direct reaction. There's no background, there's nothing but the woman's skin and hair, even the clothing, the cell phone. I think that's one of my favorite cutouts, is when you cut out the silhouette of the cell phone as they're holding it in front of them. Like
that is a requirement for that series, my own rule that I'm giving myself, as we do so much as artists, that when I ask my students, how they're doing, and it's different on the cameras, they would turn on their cameras when we virtual learning, and they had this kind of it's a horrible reaction to having all of their peers seeing their face, and I'm the only one with my camera on. And so send me a picture of how you guys are doing. And they were just these very quiet selfies taken mirrors. And there was something so beautiful and scary and sad, and yet just their essence, and just felt right to kind of eliminate everything behind them, their clothing, their jewelry, their glasses, whatever, just kind of see them as this kind of image in isolation. And so I have about 20 in that series as of now, and I'm also starting to integrate flowers into that as well. And so one piece that is Dahlia, that is also in the spring show, that the flowers are, I'm designing these flowers for these girls specifically. So what I know about them, there's a symbolism to the flowers. I'm creating a wallpaper, so to speak, these flowers that are adhered to that matte background, still creates kind of a depth to it.
That's really interesting. Actually, I kind of wanted to move on to process, and specifically the flocking, and like, so why flocking? Why did you decide that? How did you apply it? And does it bear any creative significance as opposed to just having a blacked out painted background on wood panel?
Well, I couldn't get a black paint that was matte enough that it didn't reflect the surface. And I tried ink, and I tried matte paint, and I tried flat, I tried alkyds and acrylic. I just could not get a black that was black enough. And I thought, what is the blackest thing that I could find? And thankfully, my husband's an artist too. After brainstorming, I was like, could we do velvet? And how that work? And how do I cut velvet? And so we a lot of thankfully, it was one of those strange silver linings during COVID, and being isolated at home allowed for a lot of experimentation. So after much experimentation, I found flocking is basically it's a powder, and it comes out in a form that's very light, and you can get a huge bag full of it. And I put a enamel-based paint down first, so I mask off the figure after I paint her and protect her, and then using a airbrush a very thick layer of the enamel based paint that takes a long time to dry. And so then the powder comes out in almost a container that looks like Comet container, where it has holes, like holes.
Yeah.
So it comes out
Yeah.
as like little poofs of black, which is like ends up everywhere.
Right.
It's
Oh.
recommended to do outdoors because it's everywhere. And the fine mist of black all over my whole house. So then when it settles into the enamel paint and the paint dries after 48 hours, it cures itself. And so then you lift it upside down, the extra comes off, and then have this like very thin layer of flocked surface.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's a throwback a little bit to the 60s, 70s posters where it was like paintings on black velvet, which I kind of like that kitsch of it, but it also has this feeling of abyss where there is no beginning and no end, and it's kind of like an infinite black.
Yeah, it's a true black. You're right. It does. You really, I can't think of any other way to, I don't know, make a surface for a painting that's black but doesn't reflect in really unfortunate ways. And that is
absolutely
that's an excellent like
solution.
Excellent solution. So does it, I kind of get it. Did it bear any, I guess, like thematic significance, the flocking, compared to just painting the background black, or was it a purely utilitarian decision? Like, what's the, least
I mean, conceptually, I would not say velvet specifically, like the texture has anything, but I don't want anyone to touch the work.
No, so naturally, no.
It's hard because you want to touch it, because it is that you kind of want to put your finger in it, just like if this is some kind of illusion goes so deep into the surface, but it's much more about creating that the illusion aesthetically than it was conceptually. Well, it's both, really.
So. Yeah. All right. So that about wraps it up for us here. So thank you for sitting with me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Where can we find you? Like,
well, website is sarahcurryartist.com. I have my show, Cicada. Everybody in Erie can go see that. That's 6, and that'll be up for a little over a month. I will have my work at multiple venues this summer in Can Triennial. I have my work in a show at the West 78th Street Studios at both my gallery, the Hedge Gallery, as well as Gallery 202, which is right next to that, in Cleveland as well. So it's a busy year. Yeah, I feel very fortunate.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for sitting with us. I'm Todd from the Erie Art Museum, and this is another round of Meet the Artist.